Everywhere you turn, you're hearing about AI. Everywhere you turn, you're hearing about it taking jobs, you're hearing about new businesses you can start, you can hear all of the hype and all the hoopla, but what's the real use cases that you're really missing out on? I would like to submit to you that while most everyone is using tools like ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and some of the latest tools to do the simple things like content creation, today I'd like to share with you 4 additional ideas, strategies, and use cases that we just shared with our members of the Mindshift Inner Circle inside of our AI Marketing Accelerator that I think will help expand how you think about where AI plays in. My name is Darrell Evans. I'm the host of the Mindshift podcast, founder of Mindshift Inner Circle, and the co-founder and CEO of Yokel Local Internet Marketing, and where we've helped companies do well over $300 million in revenue. And for this particular episode, I want to share with you some thoughts about what I would call a practical guide for how you can think about getting started with AI if you haven't gotten started yet. Why did this episode even come up today? Well, at the agency, we have CEOs and founders of all sorts of industries that are still telling me today, as we get ready to head down to the end of 2024 and into 2025, that they have not yet even begun to play with ChatGPT or Claude or some of these other tools. So I started thinking to myself, well, if these are successful CEOs and founders who have established companies, successful businesses, growing businesses, obviously we all have challenges in continuing that growth curve, and they've yet to step into it, then I'm assuming some of you have not yet stepped into it as well. Backstory. I'm an early adopter of AI. I'm an early adopter of technology. I'm not a creator of technology. I've never built anything. I'm not a coder, but I look for points of leverage for my small and middle-sized companies that I've had over the years where we can gain advantages. And so I've always been someone to be an early adopter. And I reflect back on the diffusion of innovation curve quite a bit. If you've been around the podcast at all, you've probably heard me talk about it, whereby 2.5% or so of the population, as relates to adopting technology, those are considered the innovators of the world. And there's a group of people called the 13.5%, which are the early adopters. 35% are early majority, 34% are late majority, and then the last group is about 13%, and they are called laggards. Well, listen, if you are a CEO, founder, small business, mid-sized business owner today, I need you to stop and take a look at what AI can do in your business. In my own company, in one of my companies, just as of right now, we are still running on a track where, since we've adopted and leaned into how AI can improve the efficiencies of our operations and our processes way beyond content creation, we have been able to cut our operational costs in what we call our cost of goods sold, for those that are finance people, by 67% on average. Some months 65, some months we've had a 72, 73, literally because of AI. And if you're an owner, CEO, or founder, you cannot ignore those types of numbers. You must lean in. So I've got some notes here. I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it quick. But here's what I shared last week in our AI Accelerator. And the first use case that I want to talk about is this idea of data analysis. If you're not using specifically ChatGPT, I found ChatGPT to be the best at this point for crunching data. But there are so many points of data that we're inundated with, whether it's Google Ads data, SEO data, Google Search Console data, email data, open rates, click-through rates. Did they buy? Did they not buy? There are more data points in the world of digital specifically, let alone other areas in your manufacturing process or your fulfillment processes. And it's interesting because over the years, we've relied on humans, very smart humans, let me be clear, to come up with the analysis of this data. And you're just working too hard. Let me give you a quick example. I run part of my work, and part of the work that I do is as a fractional CMO for companies. So our agency will get hired to do some sort of the strategy and tactical work, but then I will be asked in some cases to take over as the fractional CMO, which I love to do because I get to sit next to the founder, CEO, the leadership team, and really help rework usually some sort of turnaround strategy in their business. No one usually hires us because they're doing super well. They usually hire us because things went off the rails somehow. And we love to get them back on track. It's something I just feel like I'm blessed and been fortunate to know how to do, turning things around. But it's interesting when you step into a role and I don't work in the company and I don't have all the backstory and I don't have the 20 years of data, It's even though I feel like I'm pretty good, and even though I could even hire a data analyst, the reality is, how do we compress time to get real insights from that data? And before ChatGPT, it would take weeks, if not months, to put together the spreadsheets and put together the analysis and still end up with subjective opinions about the numbers. Sure, we could crunch the numbers and those would be factual, but we would still make subjective opinions. One of the cases that I used with ChatGPT specifically was I took the last 4 to 5 years of data for this company's ad performance, the marketing performance, the organic, the Google, the SEO, email, and if without ChatGPT, I wouldn't have been able to crunch the data as fast as possible. I found an area of opportunity that had happened over a couple of year period there was an anomaly. And I found a gap in an area that we could explode and explore. And we took advantage of that in 2024 and we turned things around. Data analysis is one. Number 2, spotting trends. Number 3, how do you take on a regular basis and make quicker decisions? So many people we talk to are not making good decisions because they don't have good numbers. They're waiting in arrears for numbers that they need to make good data on, whether that's financial data, marketing data, sales data, manufacturing data, and so forth. So use case number 1 is making sure you have an opportunity, and if you're not already, exploring the opportunities of data analysis with ChatGPT. Number 2, everyone knows this, and I know most of you probably are not, but automation and coding. Listen, today, every automation tool out there is affordable and available. Most people know that, and many of you are not coders, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time with it right now. But what's happening between Claude and ChatGPT is just incredible for those of us to be able to build tools, build resources, build products for our businesses without needing the high cost of developers. Now, you do need developers, don't get me wrong, but if you don't know what you're doing. But it's very interesting what's available today in this area of no-code software, no-code applications, and it's not there to replace the strategic decision-making of a developer and someone who can really lead your project from start to finish. But again, an underutilized area is when business owners are trying to create a product, trying to create a process, trying to create an implementation, and you can literally start to get the fabric and the foundation right out of AI today. I know it's not a use case for many of you following this show because you're not in the development space, but it is very important to start thinking about how you can come up with automations, come up with the way the automation might flow, come up with the way that it might work. Take a problem and reverse engineer it. It's actually a great point that I want to make. One of my clients said to me, "Where do I begin?" And I said, always start with the problem that is most pressing, that drives you crazy the most. That's literally a great place to start when you're thinking about where should I start with AI. It can be intimidating to just open the interface and not know what to do. Start with a problem. Start with something that is costing a lot of money, takes too much time, doesn't get done as efficiently as you want. So I always say start with the problem. Number 3, one of my favorites is using ChatGPT and AI, Claude, Gemini, and some of these other tools as what I call strategic thinking partners. I mean, you literally today have a PhD level assistant in these tools, especially with the latest versions of ChatGPT and Claude. I don't use Gemini, full disclosure, I don't use that all that much, but I am finding that these tools can really help me quickly do some strategic thinking and bring data back from the large language model that help me access resources, help me access facts, help me access research and data to help me with strategic thinking. If I want to research a specific market, I can use it for that. If I want to research a specific product lifecycle, I can do that. If I want to research how other companies might be doing it based on publicly related data, I can do that. If I want to research trends, history, historical facts, it's all right there. So I want you to get out of this idea of just using it for quick, shallow exercises. And the biggest one that I've been talking to our clients about is really sitting down and have these AI tools support you in your strategic thinking. I call it, literally, it's my thought partner. And I'm gonna be honest, I go to AI for many things today over going to Google. I do not go to Google hardly at all these days, largely because, and by the way, ask Siri, by the way, no, I don't want to ask Siri, go off, cancel, sorry about that. what I do is I think that I'll start with ChatGPT first, or I'll start with Claude, or I'll start with a different type of product that we use today. And I literally just start running ideas. Like, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think about that? And it sounds silly, but I'm asking this large language model what it thinks about my thinking. It's actually fascinating, but the more and more you do this, the more and more you'll get comfortable with it. So the last thing I want to talk about is content creation. I want to cover the elephant in the room. A lot of you are using content creation tools with ChatGPT and others, and you're still talking to me about it being basic, boring, and not on brand. Well, listen, you can turn that around very simply, and that is put your context into the product or into ChatGPT or the AI first. Now, there are some tools being built today that are allowing you to do that. There are ways to build what's called a custom GPT, which can help do that. But I actually sat down with ChatGPT one day and we did our own little project, and I asked it all these questions, and it literally said, is it best every time that I start a chat with you to provide the backstory, the content, the brand voice, the literary style, what we would tend to call the brand guide, if you will, in every single chat? And ChatGPT said yes. So if you want to improve your content creation, you've got to give it the backstory. You've got to give it the formula, as I call it. And for those that have not seen that specific video where I talk about the ChatGPT formula that I think has been as good as what I've created over the last 22 months working with AI, I'll link that down below this video. I won't go through the formula here, but it is a 7-part framework. One of the most important parts of the framework is to not just tell it what the end goal is, you tell it what it can't do, okay? I'll link that down below. What I'm getting at, my friend, right now is don't be intimidated by AI. You've got to get into it from the research standpoint. You've got to get into it from the data analysis standpoint. You've got to get into it if it is your path to get automation and coding going. You know, who wouldn't want to automate something that had to be done manually, right? And if you can do that now without a $59 a month subscription with some tool or a $200 a month subscription with a tool, I mean, I'm not saying tools don't matter, but start looking at the leveraging power of this open interface, whether it's OpenAI's or whether it's Claude or Gemini or all the other ones that are coming out. Next, one of the big things that I think people are sleeping on is to help you with strategic thinking. You know, anytime that you would think about going to Google, I would really encourage you just to open up the interface and ask the question. I'll finish with this funny story. Maybe it's funny, maybe it's not. I'm a cook in my off hours. I'm not a chef, I'm a cook. There's a dramatic difference. I play around in the kitchen quite a bit, and I messed up a recipe one night, and I had about 8 people over to the house. I'm screwed. I have no idea how I'm gonna get out of this mess because everybody knew that I was making this dish and everybody was kind of there for the dish. And now I messed up my signature dish. And I actually, in the moment, had no idea how to fix it. So I asked ChatGPT. I didn't ask Siri. I didn't go to Pinterest. I didn't go to Google and look through 13 blue links on a blog post. I simply asked ChatGPT. And funny enough, by the way, advanced voice mode on ChatGPT is bananas if you haven't started it yet. By the time you see this video, you gotta be using advanced ChatGPT with voice mode. It is bananas what you can do. But anyway, I get an answer in a couple seconds. I didn't have to scroll Google. I didn't have to go through a whole bunch of people's blog posts and pop-ups, which I'm a fan of pop-ups, don't get me wrong. But it's just amazing what we have today. Some of you are afraid of what AI is gonna do. I'm telling you right now to lean in because technology is never lost and you've always figured it out. When the teller at the bank said they prefer you to go to the ATM, you started depositing your checks in the teller ATM. When they told you don't come to the bank, go get the money out the teller, you started doing that. When you go to some of these grocery stores and they make you bag your groceries, you do that. Every time technology evolves, something changes and we get better. It opens the door for us to get new skills. It opens the door for us to learn new pathways. It challenges us to evolve, which is why we're here in the first place. We didn't come here to be the same today as we were yesterday, as we were 10 years ago, as we will be in 25 years. We came to evolve. We're here to grow. It's one of the reasons why my company, my parent company's name is Can-I 365, and that's constant and never-ending improvement, 365 days a year. This show is called the Mind Shift Podcast, and that simply is indicative of where we are as this world of AI continues to evolve. If we continue to do what we've always done, we'll continue to get what we've always gotten. And if what we've always gotten is not what we want today, it's time to shift our mind so we can shift our results. My friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you haven't done so already yet, hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening to this episode right now. If you want to take a look at what we're doing inside the Mindshift Inner Circle, we're attacking these issues and these topics every day, holding our clients in our students' hands, helping them make this transition from the way we used to do it and transforming it into something so much better. I'll see you again on another episode. Take care.